but what are your thoughts?
My guess, G Funky, is that I'm speaking right now to a couple Marco Antonio Barrera fans. Tell me I'm lying.
Oh, I'm one.
Oh, so now we understand the little bit of a bias scorecard. Now we get it. I see Joe's keeping quiet over there, which brings me to my memorable Pac-Man moment, him whooping Marco Antonio Barrera's ass.
We got some official news from one Mr. Manny Pacquiao.
Sometimes when we touch, the feeling just too much.
The man is hanging up the gloves and is running for president in the Philippines. But I want to hand the mic over to my man Dave from the 408. I want to get your thoughts on him retiring, and what is your one favorite moment from Mr. Manny Pacquiao?
Oh God, do I really want to say that? I mean, first of all, an incredible legacy that he's leaving behind for the sport of boxing and for the people of Philippines. First ballot Hall of Famer. The timing couldn't be better. We all witnessed that his fast twitch muscles and his inability to pull the trigger anymore. He's not going to win any major fights at welterweight against any of the top champions. And I certainly don't want to see him sustain any kind of brain damage that could impede, a fantastic political career that he's embarked on. Here he is running for president with just as good enough chance as the Duterte family. So I think the timing is perfect for him to ride off into the sunset in the sport of boxing. He's paid his dues, and we'll always remember. I'm going to remember so many events. Unfortunately for me, my favorite moment is when Marquez got revenge and dropped him in that fourth and final fight.
Man,
that's for now. I mean, that's just the first one off my top of my head. But I mean, I'm a big fan of Manny Pacquiao, man. Much respect to him.
From Pacquiao.
Sometimes when we touch, the honesty's too much. I'm gonna close my eyes and cry. The good thing about him retiring is he has so much outside stuff to keep him busy with his political career, the presidential run. He's really involved with, his kids got a lot of projects going on, and he's really involved with those projects with his kids. You could see them. They all have YouTube channels, and he's like on the YouTube channel with them a lot of times doing things. So I think he's going to transition well into retirement. And I think this is the time, obviously, if you're complaining about the aches and pains, that's the telltale sign to get out, right? Because they're not going to get better with age. They're only going to get worse. Done everything he could do. I think the memorable fight for me was when he fought De La Hoya, because I remember when the fight was first announced, everyone thought he was going to get killed. They thought it was a mismatch. And then, when the HBO 24/7 was going on, you could see how drained and how debilitated De La Hoya looked. And then people were taking a second look and maybe he can beat De La Hoya. But then when he did do it, seeing how this tiny little guy, like 5'5", in there with a guy 5'11", it just looked surreal in there. And it was a huge upset. And he's had a great career. What else can you say about the guy? But yeah, it is time to go. And like I said, I think he'll have a great life outside of boxing to fall back on. So he'll be okay.
Well said, my man Joe Habib. Sean, I want to get your thoughts, man. Pacquiao officially hangs up his gloves and goes full on into politics in his native, the Philippines. And what is your favorite moment from Pacquiao in his career?
Well, I feel very fortunate and blessed to have seen his career, and I have a unique moment so special to me. I know a lot of people, they see on the outside looking in, they talk about, what Pacquiao means to the Philippines, but I got to actually experience it. In one of my jobs, I had to go over there to work, and I was there May 2nd, 2009. And, it was in Las Vegas, so it's a 24-hour difference. So when I was watching the fight, it was in the morning when the fight, it's Sunday morning there. And I was, normally instead of having a barbecue with my family, I was, eating breakfast with, a bunch of strangers, but they became my family during the fight, during the Ricky Hatton fight. And I just remember the energy in the crowd. And, I was kind of homesick at the time, but man, it was just, I really truly saw at that moment, like what he meant to, obviously boxing, but to that country and to those people. And it was something I'll never forget. It was surreal. It was like the whole, like they say, there's no crime when he fights, that there was no one in the street. If you had to do something, you didn't do it. I mean, it was all about, especially at that time when he was, kind of in his prime. So it was unbelievable to me. And it's something I always, cherish and appreciate. And, I hate that we're going to lose him, but I don't think we really have the gravity of what we're saying. Like he's running for president for a country. That's insane. But props to him and thanks for the memories.
Good stuff there, man. Beeb, we have someone calling you out. Says, Beeb, I still can't agree Bradley beat him. I think Bradley won that first fight as well. I scored that fight for Bradley. My post-fight video is still up on my video that I did. What was that? 8 years ago? I want to say 9 years ago that fight happened. So, yeah, I'm right there with you.
It's because of groupthink, G Funky. Everyone's got to agree with
leave it to Beeb and G Funky to make it about them when this is about Manny Pacquiao. But it's okay, I get it, guys. Make it about yourselves, make it about you.
He made money on it.
That actually said Pacquiao won the fight.
We got paid. We got paid. That's all that matters. It's about the Doreen.
So why you act like a bunch of victims? Oh, they went at us.
Well,
we said that he won.
At the end
Stop
of the
crying
day.
about it. Stop crying about it.
It's about the ducats.
Woo!
Like
because they were coming after us, and we were saying that Bradley won. Who cares? Who cares?
We got the
W. Go back and watch that 8-year video. Check that out.
Yeah, check it out. Maestro, I know you're a big Manny Pacquiao fan. What are your thoughts, man? You're on mute, but what are your thoughts?
My guess, G Funky, is that I'm speaking right now to a couple Marco Antonio Barrera fans. Tell me I'm lying.
Oh, I'm one.
So now we understand the little bit of a biased scorecard. Now we get it. I see Joe's keeping quiet over there, which brings me to my memorable Pac-Man moment, him whooping Marco Antonio Barrera's ass after the Lucero win. A lot of people
jump in and save him.
A lot of people didn't think he was going to do that at the Alamo Dome. I bet you G Funky wasn't one of them.
It was like Paris and Hector. When Paris was like begging for his life, and Hector, I'm not gonna let you kill my brother. That's what happened in that fight.
Oh man, it was a rough time for the Barrera fans. So I think when Bradley fought him, he had a lot of Barrera fans in his corner that night. Notwithstanding all that shit talk, I actually did think that Pacquiao won that fight. I don't necessarily agree with all of the hatred that went Bradley's way. I mean, he didn't necessarily have anything to do with obviously the judging.
Beautiful performance from Bradley.
But yeah, I mean, he did tremendous work with that head. You know what I mean? Tremendous
performance. Yeah,
tremendous work.
He's a smart guy. He used his head in that fight. He did use his head in that fight. He's brilliant.
Funny enough, it reminds me a lot of the second possibly greatest cruiserweight of all time, Mr. Evander, the real deal Holyfield. But I digress. Pac-Man, great fighter, great legacy, great story. He went from a shoe shine kid that weighed less than 100 pounds to an 8-division, 5-time lineal. I think, what was it? Like, I can't even count the number of times he's won world titles. Champion. Great career. I just hope that politics doesn't corrupt him. The Philippines is a patronage society. There's a lot of corruption over there. Look at the history of the Marcos dynasty, not just Ferdinand, who was a terrible, corrupt, very brutal leader of that country, but his wife, Esmeralda, and their offspring actually that tried to run for politics and are still very politically involved over there.
So somebody's gonna come in and be like, "Is this boxing?"
Well, hey, man, class is in session, guys.
I love when he talks to politics. Let him
wait.
That was a smooth transition too. Nice.
The once forgotten formal former colony of the United States that was subject to a brutal colonial rule by these United States of America. Mass slaughter of hundreds of thousands of innocent Filipinos. Now, anyways, the point is Duterte, terrible leader, obviously. Death squads for guys smoking marijuana and all kind of other things that we take for granted here. I do hope that Pac-Man does become president. I just hope that Pac-Man is able to do what he did in the ring, which is fight for his people as president and not become one of the many corrupt leaders that exist in this world that we inhabit. And I wish him all the best. I'll just leave it at that.
No, you make a good point, man. I spoke to, a friend of the family who is from the Philippines. The family still lives over in the Philippines, and they tell me the same thing. Very corrupt. Money runs the government there and things like that. So Pacquiao's got a legit shot, man. We know he's paid like crazy over there, so he's got a legit shot at becoming the president. It's whether he'll do his job the right way or let the corrupt politics take it somewhere else. I'm going to give a shout out to Chicano Prophet for the $4.99. Says my favorite memory is watching Pacquiao Marquez 2 live. Atmosphere was electric. Pacquiao was one of a kind. Thank you for the support, man. Appreciate that. So as far as the Marco Antonio Barrera hate, that's all I got to say to you guys. Give you a little Kawhi Leonard laugh for the little wise cracks over there. All right. For the Barrera haters over there. All right. But D-Style, you're the biggest Barrera hater on here. But what do you think about this news here, man?
No, look, I'm going to say this very seriously. Boxing in the last 20 years did not in any way, shape, or form show. And I mean this as not just as an entity, as a sport. I mean the fans, us as fans. We never showed that we even deserve someone like Manny Pacquiao. We never showed that. Someone who took on everybody, took on all comers, fought the majority. Everyone can't fight everybody, okay? Let me just put that out there. You could nitpick and you could say, well, he didn't fight this guy and that guy. We didn't deserve Manny Pacquiao. We'll never have another Manny Pacquiao. I will be extremely shocked if we will ever have that. People they just love to nitpick this guy's career. And look, everything's fair game. I get that. You know what I mean? And I think that shows how polarizing and how big of a figure he was to boxing. That it brings back, like for Beeb and G-Funky, it brings back like memories of the Pac-Tards coming after them and stuff like that. Ooh, you know what I mean? But in all seriousness, when it comes to Manny Pacquiao himself, right, and what he accomplished, let's be honest. If you've been following boxing, when this guy was fighting Marco Antonio Barrera and beating his ass, okay, and when he won a trilogy against my favorite fighter of all time, Eric Morales, try to freeze time right there. Like just freeze it. Never in anyone's wildest dreams did anybody think that guy was going to be fighting at welterweight. All right, nobody thought that. Welterweights were giants to Manny Pacquiao. All right. Yet he fought them. Yet he went up there and he fought these guys. Okay, like at the end of the day, and he fought the who's who, right? And I'll end it with this. I remember watching the movie Troy. We watched the very end of that movie. The narrator says, "Let's say and let's celebrate and let's say that we lived in a time of Achilles." We lived in the time of Hector and in the time of Achilles, right? Well, I lived in the time of Manny Pacquiao, right? I'll be able to tell people I witnessed Manny Pacquiao. I don't think it's settled in yet with people. I do believe he's been taken for granted. I do believe he will be missed. I do believe that fighters like him they're just not a dime a dozen. They're not. And I hope people understand that. I hope they understand that what Manny Pacquiao meant for the sport, what Manny Pacquiao gave to the sport, right? And I want to thank all the fighters that fought him and wish them nothing but the best, from Marco Antonio Barrera, Eric Morales, his most recent opponent, Ugas, to everyone, okay? Even Floyd Mayweather, I'm not recently, but when asked, like, did you like Conor? He said, hell no, I didn't like Conor. Did you like Manny? Like, actually, yeah, I liked Manny Pacquiao. I didn't dislike him. You know, he's a very likable guy. Like, he really, really is. And he meant a lot for the sport. He accomplished a lot in the sport. Okay. His positives far outweigh any negatives by far. And I think people should have a 90-10 rule when it comes to Manny. Speak 90% positive before you give me your 10% negative. Stop making it 50-50. That's my advice to people, because that's what he meant to the sport. That's what he gave to the sport. He gave his blood, his sweat, and his tears. And he gave everything to the sport up until the age of 42, right? And now he's going to run for president. I do not know his politics. I'm not going to cap for him like Maestro did, you know, when it comes to politics, you know what I mean? But you know what I mean? But I wish him the best.
I didn't cap for him.
He might have the worst policies imaginable for all I know. I don't know.
Yeah, you can't be worse than Duterte, but ding the bell, G Funky.
I'm gonna go ahead and give my brother Maestro some credit here for dropping the $5 on me. Says Manny Pacquiao is arguably the most accomplished fighter in the history of this great sport. No honey, I shrunk the kids. Gotta love that.
DStyle loves to play Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. We don't do that. We don't do that on my.
According to you, Ariola's a better fighter than Manny. So sit down.
We don't do that over here.
Oh,
we don't do that.
Let me get a $10 super chat from my man, ringside reporter Joe Habib, right here underneath me. He says, "Greatest performance from Bradley against Pacquiao in that first fight." That was
great performance.
No. Of the night, baby.
Almost to the side. It was a courageous performance.
Salute to Nando for this one, because he reminded me that he fought so well with that head that he had to be wheelchaired out of there like Tupac, bro.
Yeah. What happened in the third fight when Manny had him do backflips and shit? Okay,
he was out of that ring.
Right, let me go.
Yo, by the way, all the backflips he was making him do in the third fight, he could have won a gold medal in his last Olympics.
All right, easy.
Could have been the gymnast.
Easy there, it's my turn. I'm on the mic now. All right, I'm on the mic.
Beep couldn't help himself. He couldn't help himself. He just couldn't help himself. He couldn't help himself.
Let me go ahead and give my piece, man. I want to say that again, speaking with a friend of the family about the politics over in the Philippines, he does have a legit shot. The corruption, the money, if you have the machine behind you, it works. It works over there. So she told us, I hope that people over there do the right thing and vote for a real politician and not for Manny Pacquiao just because he's Manny Pacquiao. But she says he has a legit shot because he's got the money, and I believe it, man. It's a third world country, so we know how that shit goes. I mean, our government is corrupt as hell as well. But I'll end it right there with the politics. But I want to say my favorite moment. Or I should say my favorite moment from Manny Pacquiao in his long career is, I am going to say Marquez, but not 4. I'm going to say number 1. And the reason why I'm going to say number 1 is because Marquez was a guy who couldn't get an Eric Morales in the ring. He couldn't even get my favorite guy, Barrera, in the ring. Right, those Barrera fought him years later.
This turned into slander for Morales.
Morales never wanted.
I don't know what the slander's about. You got to take that back. Right? You got to apologize.
Right? But you know who gave Marquez his first shot, and it was in front of a big audience.
Chris John gave him a big shot
in person, and on TV it was Manny Pacquiao.
Well, Chris John gave him a whole country, Indonesia. You don't count or what?
And not as much as Manny Pacquiao. That fight was on HBO. And it was a good fight, controversy, and it led to 3 more fights, all good fights. But I give him credit for that because Marquez was a guy, again, that not a lot of guys were looking to get in there with. And Manny said, let's do it. It looked like it was going to be a walk in the park after that first round, but, Marquez got his faculties together and made it a fight. Win, lose, or draw was a classic, and Manny helped get Marquez where he needed to be, because who knows what would happen if he never fought him? Who knows? We might not even be talking about Marquez being one of the greatest boxers from Mexico. You know what I'm saying? So Pacquiao deserves some credit for that, man. And that's my favorite moment from Manny Pacquiao. I mean, there's a plenty that we can go off of, but I'm picking that one. Nando Yamas, $4.99 super chat says, thank you, Manny, for all the great rewatchable fights. Too many to name. Yeah, the guy's got a ton of good fights.